Welcome to the official YouTube channel for the Colin Cowherd Podcast. Go on, hit that subscribe button if you're new so you don't miss any of our great football content this season.
So as I watched Phil Mickelson, John and I went to the first tee, and they got the paratroopers, and there's fireworks. Mickelson, first of all, he was in really good shape.
He looks good.
And he was the most popular golfer here. He was really popular. But it was interesting because when I watched Phil...
He's probably my generation's Arnold Palmer or something, don't you think?
I think so.
Yeah.
Phil now is not yet Greg Norman, but it kind of feels like he's a businessman. Has Phil... I mean, by the way, he is the attraction. I mean, like, he and Bryson are...
Yeah.
And golf has always had a great legacy. It loves its old stars, right? But when I watch Phil today, he's in the best shape I've ever seen. And I'm kind of wondering, I'm thinking, because you're next to me, I'm kind of thinking, where are we with Phil? Do we expect him to win? Or is it just like, it's like when musical acts, their last 8 years would go to Vegas. And they couldn't quite hit the notes, but you wanted to go watch Barry Manilow. Like, no, I'm not saying that, but there is a part of me with Phil, it's like, I don't really care how he plays. I just want to see Phil Mickelson.
Well, he's 55. He's probably never going to win another major. I mean, he won one a couple years ago at Kiowa. That was one of the coolest things. I think he's one of the oldest players to ever win a major. I forget the exact stat. He was 50 years old. At 55 to still be this good, you could make the argument that he's the greatest 55-year-old golfer in the history of the sport. Relative. Is he going to beat Bryson and Koepka on a weekly basis? No. The Masters is the one place, because they play there every year, and he's exempt for life being a champion. I think 2 years ago, I think he finished second. So, now, is he going to win the event? I wouldn't bet. Is he going to take out Scotty Scheffler or Bryson if they're on? Probably not. But that is one event where he can get hot. I think he could top 10 there again in his late 50s. That is an incredible. Remember what a big deal it was in the mid-'80s when Jack won at 46 years old?
Yeah.
So for
and
Phil
people
to do
people are in better shape now.
For
people,
sure.
They eat better.
You're right. Phil looks great. I mean, he looks way better than he did when he was my age.
I mean,
late 30s, early 40s.
No, so Phil's about 6'2".
Yeah.
So I looked at him today, and I'm 6'1", and I'm $190, and Phil's bigger than I am.
Yeah.
And I looked at him, I'm like, he's 6'2", 208. I mean, Phil's big. I mean, the hips big. And I looked at him, I'm like, Phil's in good, and he had a tight golf shirt. I'm like, that's the best shape Phil's ever been in.
You know, Bones, Phil's old caddy.
Yeah.
I heard him say this once. He's like, when you look at Phil relative to a lot of these guys, Koepka's battled knee injuries. Bryson had a back when he got big. Phil's never had an injury. When you look at his swing, because I don't know if it's his flexibility, his swing kind of looks identical as it did 20 years ago. He swings, and, power is a big part of his game. Kind of a unique, a lot of these guys, the nature of the swing, it's not a normal human motion.
Well, baseball players, left-handers.
Yeah.
It looks better.
It looks fantastic. So I mean, he's never been injured, still playing, relatively. Again, you top 5 at the Masters in your 50s, like it probably happened, I don't know, less than 2 times in the history of the game.
Yeah, it's really fun here. It's really an event. I mean, first of all, it's incredibly well staffed. You know how when you have different leagues, sometimes you're like, well, it's a shoestring budget. That's not the case.
I don't think budget's the issue here.
It is not the issue.
No.
They have, and I'm sure they have this everywhere, but
I think the key, and they know what they're doing, is going to cities that are party, fun places, and it's going to work. I think they had an event earlier in Arizona, in Tucson. I don't know if it was last year or this year. They've gone to Australia. When they go to places that are fun, I mean, the atmosphere there won't be anything like that.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't know, because where I live in Chicago, this is about an hour 10 drive. So I was thinking, no, they'll get a decent crowd, but you got to get in your car and commit to it. And then you have to commit coming home. And I was like, we had traffic, like real traffic. And then I got here and I looked at the first hole. I'm like, oh shit, this is a real crowd. Like, this is something. And I think the one thing, and this is not, because first of all, watching Rory win the Masters is about, I said it on the air, that was like 4.5 hours of the best TV of my life. Like, watching Tiger when he got old, there's nothing like the traditional British Open. I mean, I
when
love
Phil
it.
won the PGA a couple years ago.
You can really like two things at the same time. It's like, I was never, when I first defended LIV, my take away was, guys, if I say your favorite part of golf, you're either going to say it's the Masters, which isn't run by the PGA. That's not a shot at the PGA. PGA was a charity that didn't run the U.S. Open, the British, Augusta. So my take is always, I've always been loyal to the golfer.
Yeah.
I wanted to see Phil and Bryson and Koepka. I wanted to see the golfer today. But I also understood the pushback by traditionalists because outside of baseball, it's probably the most tradition-rich sport. But when you watch today, one of the things that jumps out to me is I grew up in a small town. We didn't have country clubs. I've always felt like an outsider in golf, even though I've gotten the bug in the last 3 years. When you're here, it kind of feels like they took that veneer and they pulled it off. They should just get close to the golfers. And I think that's something that golf for younger generations, I think it works.
I think one thing that I'm big on is on Sunday is everyone having the same rotation of holes. And I don't know if they've been doing this, but staggering the first tee with multiple groups. So those 6 guys, instead of one, the winner might finish on hole 3 because he started on hole, 2. This, they're going multiple groups off 1. That means they're all going to finish on 18. Like, I like seeing the guys come down 15, 16, 17, but Phil kept, all those guys went off hole 1. So I like the way that they do that, the stagger tee on, with the leaders, multiple groups.
It was really interesting today when Brooks Koepka came over to us.
He likes you, Colin.
You've
been a supporter.
No,
he's a sports guy.
I was a huge Koepka guy, did not like DeChambeau for the first 2 years and the 13 egg omelets. And then Bryson, I thought, got very likable. He kind of a little more human, a little more humble.
Well, and Brooks embraced him.
Huh?
Brooks embraced him. They're buddies.
Yeah, and so it was like, okay. And then Brooks, I think, struggled with an injury. But Brooks, and it doesn't matter what business it is. It could be politics. It can be golf. DeChambeau is an aggressive guy, and it's just sort of his personality. Whereas Brooks is, but I think if I had to guess, he's probably super private.
Yes.
Really private. So, like, you get all types. Like, if you're a politician, you have to be somewhat social. Aaron Rodgers is not the same personality as Tom Brady. Remember Jake Plummer? I love Jake Plummer.
ASU.
Loved him. Jake and Aaron are a little iconoclastic. They're not corporate guys. They're just not comfortable in that space. That's okay. Not everybody's Brady feels like a corporation. Manning feels like he leans into the corporation. So I always thought Bryson and Brooks may have been big, strong, great-looking alphas. They're just different guys.
Well, they're kind of opposite. Brooks early on in his career gravitated with DJ. Both feel like, at least to the public, introverted, not giving you a lot. Bryson, who'd he gravitate toward? Phil. Politician, shaking hands, knows everybody's names, hanging out with the CEO of all the companies. And that's kind of Bryson's personality. They're unique characters. DJ and Brooks, like, I envision them on a Sunday watching football at home. Bryson's out measuring the next golf club, calling Phil what he thinks about the wind and the scientifical intrinsic force of the golf ball. Right. And that's what they talk about. DJ says, I want to hit a fade, I hit a fade.
I think, it was interesting. I know there was a book written about Phil. I don't think Phil liked it at all, by Alan Shipnuck. And it was really fun. It was called Phil. And I like Alan, and I've always been fascinated by Phil Mickelson. Phil Mickelson's the only person in American sports that I've never interviewed that I want to. And I wouldn't even talk golf. I just talk life.
Yeah.
But when I read the book, what was interesting was Phil's never tried to necessarily sell himself as politically correct. I thought the book made him. Remember the movie Gordon Gekko, Wall Street? So when they made that movie, Oliver Stone, he wasn't trying to make Gordon Gekko popular. But young stockbrokers watched the movie and went, that is cool, I want to be Gordon Gekko. And Oliver Stone said, yeah, that wasn't the mission. Is that when Alan Shipnuck writes the book, you're like, oh, it's very critical. And I was like, yeah, but I've drank too much, and I've done this. And I thought it kind of humanized him. I looked at Phil, and I was like, I think I like Phil more. Now, when somebody writes a book about you, that's not how it lands for you. But I think Phil, watching how he was welcomed today, I think everybody gets what Phil is. He's a great, you ever use this term? He's a great hang.
I played in a golf event in Scottsdale probably 2 or 3 months ago with multiple of his college teammates, and they are still very, very close friends with him today. And one of their, football is a big part of all these guys' lives. They like football. I'm with you on Phil. One thing that my friends text about with Phil a lot was that he gambles on football. So do I. So does every single human in my life.
Yeah. You get into trouble in life when you're selling one thing and you're doing another. People love John Daly, and John's like, yeah, I smoke way too much. And it's like, it'd be one thing if we caught him smoking on a tour and he's saying, I don't care. Politicians do this. You're flawed. Own it.
Yeah.
Just own your stuff. So when I look at Phil, his legacy to me is he's a good hang.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's going to – I mean, he's, if we were doing like quarterbacks, he's easily one of the top 7-8 golfers in the history of the sport. And to me, he's the Peyton Manning of golf. He just happened to play against Tom Brady. He just happened to play against Tiger Woods, right? If Tiger Woods doesn't exist, what's Phil winning? 12 majors? I mean, there was a time – Phil didn't win his first major until he was in his mid-30s.
Isn't that crazy?
That's the wild part. And he won the one at 50. So I think you could argue his career – is unique because he won a tournament as an amateur. And he was kind of Tiger Woods before Tiger Woods, and then 5 years later Tiger came, and it was just an all-time comment.
I mean, just ask yourself this. I think once Rory won the Masters, because that was the one we were all rooting for.
Yeah.
Right? Like all of a sudden Rory's playing well at Augusta, you're like, oh, Sunday, I'm sitting in front of a TV. If I told you there's any golfer in the world, and I said, it's 2 o'clock Eastern on a Sunday, and blank leads Augusta, I think most sports fans would say, oh, give me Phil.
Yeah, heck yeah.
I mean, that's just, even though, because there are certain golfers, because golf's history, it's almost like watching old Nolan Ryan. Nolan Ryan, they still put him on the marquee when he was like at the end of his career. There was one Nolan Ryan. And it's not just, what do you have, 7 no-hitters? There are certain athletes, Favre had this quality. They're just relatable.
Yeah.
You just kind of like some kinetic energy. You just kind of feel like when they're in the room, they change the temperature.
Well, I think it was too, like during the Tiger era, obviously Tiger was the best player I've ever seen. But he didn't talk to anybody, had no friends, wouldn't even look at
Mark O'Meara and him were kind of okay.
But then they broke up. Tiger, Phil was the one guy that would kind of play the Arnold Palmer role, that would talk with the fans, that was a big personality. So they kind of yin and yanged each other in terms of personalities.
Yeah.
Like, he was pretty important for Tiger in terms of the balancing out. I mean, those two were in such a different stratosphere. Remember when they used to do like highest paid athlete, and it'd be Tiger, then Phil, then like the Kobe's and all the other guys.
Yes.
And then LeBron came along, and they were always third behind those two guys.
Yeah.
They changed. They took golf to a popularity level and a corporate level, I would say, in the 2000s that they had never even dreamed of, with guys like Arnold Palmer, right?
Yeah, if you go back to, and you'd have to Google this, but if you go back to 1960, before the PGA was created, I could be wrong on this. Weren't Arnie and Jack, because it was called something differently, and they didn't quite think they were getting paid enough?
Yeah, they were about to break it down.
They
tried. Jack led the charge.
Yeah, so I think, Phil, Greg Norman, complained for years. You told me a story when you thought there was a breaking point with Phil, and that's why I've always defended LIV. What was the breaking point?
It was Fox. They bought the U.S. Open. And I think they were paying well over $100 million for a 10-year deal, a tournament, right? So 10 tournaments, $1 billion. And I remember Hunter Mahan, who was very close with Phil, was like one issue, a lot of players, but Phil was the most outspoken about it. In baseball, basketball, football, there's a revenue sharing. Well, I get 49, you get 51. I get 49.8, you get, whatever. It's split basically even. The purse went from like $12 million to $16 million. And Phil's like, what the hell is going on here? Where is the money going?
Right.
It didn't make sense. And that was, and obviously, LIV coming around, the PGA money, the money's exploded since this. Competition usually creates that. But like all these golfers have benefited, but it was never like that.
That's right.
Tiger, all these guys, Phil too, when they were making $60, $80 million a year, they're only making 3 or 4 on the course. It was all coming off the course.
Yeah.
So that's where Scotty Scheffler now made $65 million. Joaquin Neiman winning all these tournaments has made like $35 million. These guys now are paid like NBA, NFL players.
And should be.
Yeah.
I mean, you and I were talking when we were driving here to the tournament today. You got to drive yourself. If you get sick, you don't get. It's like being a lawyer. If you're not working, you're not getting paid.
Well, you're your own business. So you're paying your coach, you're paying your caddy, you're paying yourself, you're paying the it's like you are paying for the hotel. When the Chiefs are playing the Cardinals today, do you know what Patrick Mahomes doesn't have to worry about? The hotel. Travis Kelce, they take care of all that stuff. So that's not golf. But that's what makes this sport kind of way different than all the other team sports, in the sense that you're kind of on your own, right? You have to worry about yourself. You're just an independent contractor. But when you're Brooks, when you're Bryson, when you're Scotty, Rory, these guys are such big businesses now. I mean, what's the difference between Phil's business for 20 years and Steph Curry in terms of the revenue flowing in? So you need the right people around you.
Yeah.
Think about what a comet ship Bryson is right now. I mean, just a business rocket ship.
John Middlekauff, the Herd. We are at Bolingbrook, LIV Tour. LIV Tour has been fantastic. The guy that runs the whole thing. Every golfer owes him a debt of gratitude. Isn't that nice? I'm not sure if that's true, but it really is a good intro. All right, round one here at LIV in Chicago. Round two coming up.